I love the garage. I love this lighting. I love that it's got stuff in it and that it maintains a relatively steady temperature, maybe because of the concrete floor. I've just been lying under this sandbag. Well, I was lying under it, but then I did a coaching call and we didn't talk very much. It was actually just sitting together, and I want to talk about the concept today. So the concept in the call was that we have this internal experiencer. We have this like emerging experience that comes through us from the inside out. It doesn't come from anywhere, it just is through us. And sometimes we give our attention to the forms on the outside, the inputs, like we look at what other people are doing, or we have thoughts that we project onto the world that come from memories. And so we're working with this sort of overlay, and we're using these thoughts and these memories and these beliefs and the examples that other people are giving to decide whether or not we're okay. And this is common. But the problem with this is that the external sometimes isn't okay. Sometimes people aren't okay. Sometimes people are all kinds of things. Sometimes the world is all kinds of things. Sometimes the external doesn't make sense. And so if we're using that to feel okay, while leaving behind the experience that's emerging through us from the inside, then we're essentially abandoning the part that is most alive about us. Because everything happening outside is based on the projection or the filter of how we feel about ourselves and within ourselves. When someone's deeply fulfilled, deeply in touch with their experience and very warm and gentle towards themselves, then it's very easy for them to see the beauty in the world and for their mind to identify and create artistically with the things that are working well, to amplify what carries that vibe of creative emergence and wonderful artistic problem solving and kindness. But when our filter inside is not so clear and we're not so intimate with our experience, then it remains unconscious, and we end up, usually noticing the things that we've been conditioned to notice, and that conditioning isn't necessarily of the most essential part of us. It's just a part of the world, and it's, all the bullshit. And it's not bullshit. It's okay. It's okay that it's there. But the issue is when we leave ourselves, we leave the seat of consciousness, the throne. There's this beautiful picture. I won't put it up in the video because I can't be bothered editing, but you can look it up, and it's just like, look up Taoist Dantian, and you can look up like Dantian baby, and there'll be pictures essentially of a meditator sitting, or just a being sitting, a human, with a little baby in the middle. And it's usually a man, which is quite funny. It's a man with a little baby in his belly, which actually represents the life essence, the experience. And in the same way that a woman cultivates, or life through a woman cultivates a baby, we all have this internal experience which is constantly being born through us. It's what we're feeling when we don't think about what we're feeling. It's what we're feeling when we don't refer to how we think we should be feeling about what we think is happening. It's just what we're feeling, the raw human part of you that's like always there, that you often try to fix or change. That raw part of you that doesn't understand, that doesn't know, that is unsure, that is asking the question, and that is like, or just is, that's actually the part where life is. That's what life is. Life and love are essentially the same word. They're interchangeable, essentially. So when you're curious about that experience internally that's coming through you, the raw part that's so fucking human, it's so like ordinary. It can be sad, it can be painful, it can be blissful. When you're just curious about that and you decide to hold yourself warmly as that comes through, it fills you up. It's a completely different way of being. Completely different way of being. So I want you to notice, when am I interested in my own experience and when am I warm towards it? And how does it feel to be warm towards things that are difficult? Like, why would you be any less warm to yourself because you're struggling with something? Addiction, a breakup, a death, a transition, a change. Why would you be any less warm to yourself because you're struggling? You are holding this essence of yourself inside you, and through your external presentation, that essence is finding its way in the world. And the more you can allow these layers to collapse and see that they're the same thing. External you is internal you. There's no difference. Like, you're not a multi-part being. You're one experience that's happening right now. Why does it have to be split up into good and bad and right and wrong? Like, you're just one experience. The more there can be a trust in that, so the trust and the layers merge, the more you'll feel merged and connected with what's outside of you too. The more you trust towards yourself and you offer that just by removing the feeling you have to do anything. The more the world trusts you, it says, oh, you don't have to do anything. There's fullness here. The way you're relating to yourself is the way you will relate to the world, and the way it will relate to you, and the way others will relate to you, because the way you relate to yourself becomes a map, or like an instruction. It's an embodied instruction. It's an unspoken instruction. It's a felt and sensed instruction which speaks in a more permeating way to the soul of people. Just hang out there. Just hang out in that space. I'm speaking to you about this because I know it well, and it's not intellectual, it's not tricky, it's not hard. You don't have to know anything. It's what and who you are is this. This is how you are. This is natural for you. This is natural for you. The thought that it's not is a thought you can invest in if you like. Why would you? So through difficult times in my life, some very recent and some not so recent, but very difficult, I've realized that when it really comes down to the wire, when it really comes down to life or death and the messy stuff and the beautiful stuff and the stuff that just takes the words right out of your mouth and just whacks the breath out of you and just like silences your mind because it's just so intense. In these moments, that's when we often start to be kind to one another and to ourselves, when we've seen enough suffering and when we know that there's nothing to lose because it's being lost. That's when we stop trying to control. And in those moments, we see our essence. And then somehow we tend to doubt that essence later. As we come back to ordinary life, we tend to doubt it and we tend to think that it's gone and that we can only have that experience in some dramatic transition. It's always there as soon as you stop trying to fiddle with yourself. It's you. That is you. So You can relate kindly to yourself no matter what happens, and it will always, always, always create a more beautiful outcome. Some problems in life are unsolvable. They don't need to be solved because they are life. You don't want to solve life. If you solve the problems, then there'd be no life. Some things don't need solutions. They just are opportunities to be here for the ride, play out the character of who you are, live your life, be Job, be fucking John, be Mary, be whoever you are. Just be who you are. Just play the character and sit in that character within the cradle of warmth and curiosity that you hold to yourself. It's the most powerful thing I could possibly share with you. And you'll notice how this builds up within you. It feels like an energy. It just feels like you're full of life. You're full of experience. Like you're embodied. You're wise without needing to know or understand anything. It's not about what you say, what you can speak, what you can do. It's just about the way you are with yourself. And you can be like that with other people around you or when you're alone. It's always the way. That's always the way. It's got nothing to do with what choice you make about the future. You'll be okay. You'll be okay, whatever happens. And if you are in this, then you're leading by example. This is the essence of it. And when you just spend enough time with your own essence, then guess what? You become more essential in here, more full, without knowing anything. So, yeah, much love. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you're here with the newsletter, if you're reading the newsletter, then there's going to be more below. If you're watching this on YouTube, then go to my website, attuned.space, and you'll see there's a newsletter bar. Attuned.space. You can sign up, get the newsletter, and it's a weekly edition that I send out with insights on the body, mind, relationships, and business.